Oh, okay, I see it. I see it. Is it okay if we just go to like 7:10? Is that cool? Okay, cool. All right. All right. Can you see me? No. The air's- Hey, hey, hey. You are listening to the She Heals radio show. I am your host, Whitney J. Happy Friday. How is everybody doing? I am so thankful to be back here. I just missed you guys. I missed being on the show last week. It was Thanksgiving and we were out of town with our families. And so I just hope everyone had a beautiful Thanksgiving and they just enjoyed themselves. We have an amazing show for you tonight. I apologize for the delay, but we are here now. So let's just go in. Shout out to Quincy, my producer. He is killing it. AJ's here too. Hey, AJ. Yes. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped up. I'm a proud mom right now. So y'all gonna have to just let me brag for a second. You know, it's amazing when God allows you to see your kids do something that he has given them. And it's even more amazing when it's a unique gift. And so, you know, with Quincy, you know, interning here at the station and, you know, we just started July 20th. So 4 months ago, you know, not even 5 months ago, you know, just to see him come in and fully get set up on his own and, you know, and start the show and to see that he's learning and it's growing. It is just so exciting. And, you know, it's just a reminder to us that God has something special for each one of us. You know, I was just sharing off the air that, you know, Quincy was trying to explain something to me about producing. And I was like, I have no clue what you are talking about. Like, I have no idea, but it was just so cool. And it's just so cool to watch him and to see that God is really doing something. And what better place to be? He could be at any place with all types of music and messages, but he's at Awesome God Radio. That is just phenomenal. So I just thank God for that. Yes, hand clap. We love it here at Awesome God. But let's hop in. So, you know, last week was Thanksgiving and, you know, hopefully you know, ate some good food and hopefully you know, had a good time with your family. But, you know, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the holiday season. You know, a lot of times, you know, during the holidays, we get so excited. I know I do. I get pumped up. I could not wait to get home and to play Silent Night by the Temptations. For me, like Christmas doesn't start until Silent Night by the Temptations comes on. And so, and the Mariah Carey Christmas album and the Preacher's Wife soundtrack, I got a whole Christmas playlist. And so it was so cool, you know, to get home. I went out of town and to start, you know, putting up my Christmas tree and playing my Christmas music. And I just get in the spirit. And for me, the holiday spirit is about the tradition. So I'm looking forward to watching all my favorite Christmas movies with my kids. And I'm looking forward to, you know, when we put up the tree together and when we, our family gets together and game night and, you know, all the music, you know, that's what I look forward to. But, you know, of course, people are getting gifts during this time. And a lot of times this can be a really exciting time for people, but it also can be a really sad time. And, you know, I spoke about that the last time we were here, but I think that we need to get back and refocus on what this holiday season is all about. You know, I used to feel bad that as a single mother, you know, I couldn't give my kids certain things. You know, I wanted to be able to get them all the gifts and I wanted to be able to get them the latest gadgets that came out and whatever. And I used to get upset and I used to feel like a failure because I wasn't able to provide those things, not really understanding that the things that they're going to remember the most is the time that we spend together, the time that we, the traditions that we have, and so if my kids, if their greatest memories growing up is not what gifts that I gave them, but instead that, oh, every Christmas we watched Home Alone and we did this and we did that, to me, that's all right. And so I think that we need to kind of check ourselves and kind of get back to the reason for this actual season. It is not just about gift giving. It is not just about the parties and dressing up and all of that. We need to kind of focus. It's about love. It's about Christ, and so we can't take him out of the equation. And we, just get so buckled down and, well, I got to get this gift and I got to get that. And, we tend to be the worst spiritually during this time of year. If you go out places when you're trying to go to the stores, people are horrible. And so we got to refocus and reposition ourselves. But I want to talk a little bit today about expectations and, what we use to determine what is a good holiday season. And like I said before, as a single parent, or just a parent in general, I struggled with not being able to buy things for my kids. And, I couldn't get this for them. I couldn't do that for them. Not realizing my presence and my love for them and my prayers for them was more than enough. And that, yes, gifts are great, but it's the time that I spend with them that is more valuable. Oftentimes we put all of our merit and all of our weight in the gifts. So you can have somebody that has literally worked and given their last to give you a gift, but because it wasn't the gift that you wanted, you're all of a sudden feeling some type of way about that person. I remember the first Christmas that I had after my husband passed away, and my cousin LaShiva, shout out to Shiva, that's like my boo. And I never forget, she came to my house Christmas Eve, and it was literally like Santa Claus. Like, if you believe in Santa Claus, she came with like 20 gifts. And we were up late, Christmas Eve night, trying to put stuff together, trying to wrap stuff, trying to get it all together. And what's funny? I cannot remember a single gift that she got the boys that year. Like, I can't remember any parts of the gifts. But what I do remember is how she made me feel. I remember how she sat with me when I was trying to, I had so many emotions. It was Christmas and I was excited for my boys, but it was the first Christmas without my husband. There were so many new things that had happened in that season, and I was just trying to kind of keep it together. And, she sat with me and she loved on me and she spent time with me. And that is what I remember. It has nothing to do with the gifts. I don't remember any of the things that she got us, but I remember how she made me feel during that time. And so it's just amazing that, we forget sometimes. And so I encourage you all to not get caught up this season. Don't get caught up in how much money you need to spend, and don't go broke trying to, buy gifts for people. Don't go out and spend more than what you have to try to buy gifts, but instead impart love, impart tradition. I was sharing before that when I was a kid, we used to go Christmas caroling. That is like an unheard thing now. I don't even know if my kids know a whole bunch of Christmas carols. But we used to go in the neighborhood and sing Christmas carols, and we had all these cool things. Get some traditions in your home and let those things be more valuable than just the gifts. Spend time together. I like cooking breakfast on Christmas morning for my kids, and I have an open door policy at my house on Christmas Day. Anybody can come over, but I'm not leaving. So, for Thanksgiving, we're here, there, and everywhere, but for Christmas, that's my day. And so you can come over, you can come hang, but I am absolutely not leaving my house. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to enjoy my kids. Get some traditions, get some service. Are we serving people during the holiday season? We take for granted that we have a home and we can put up our tree and we can have our dinner with our family and buy all these gifts when there are people that are literally hungry. There are people that are hungry, and their Christmas miracle for them is not getting that big screen TV or that Apple Watch or whatever. It's just having a meal, having a warm place to stay, to sleep. And here we are fussing and fighting over dumb stuff because that's what we're thinking about. We're not focused on the fact that there are people that really are lacking. And so have we served people? I'm challenging myself as a parent to change my children's perception of the holidays. And not that they're not going to get gifts. Of course they're going to get gifts. But that's not the only thing that they're focused on. And, every gift doesn't have to be a tangible thing that's something that they can hold. I'm providing opportunities for my kids. And to me, that's gifts. I'm finding ways for, God to, to mature the gifts that he has implanted in them. I'm taking time to do something different because I want to see something different. A lot of times we always are complaining about our youth and, oh, they're so entitled and, oh, they want this and, oh, they want that. But that's because that's what we have given them. Through our direct teaching or through our living. either one. So we have to flip the script. We have to change something if we want to see change. So I just wanted to encourage you guys to just take a moment and just really focus on what the season is really about. Bring Christ back into the season. Don't get caught up in the gift giving. Get caught up in giving love and peace and forgiveness and just an amazing holiday experience. I want to shift gears a little bit though, because I want to talk to you about light. I know you're like, what does that even mean? But I want to talk a little bit about light. This is the She Heals Inspiration segment. And so I went to South Carolina to see my sister and her husband and my brother and my brand new baby niece for Thanksgiving. So the boys and I drove down a little bit outside of Charlotte to go see them. And so, I remember when I was planning my trip, I'm like, we're going to leave Wednesday. We're going to come back Saturday because I want to have enough time to, get home and wash clothes and kind of have some time before it's time to go back to work. And so we left Saturday morning at about 5 a.m. So it was pitch black outside. In Carolina, it's different. There's not a lot of lights on the roads. It was really, really dark. And so I was driving and, I was in the dark. And so at first it was a good idea on paper to get up and leave at 5 a.m. so we could get home by, the early afternoon. But once I got on the road, I'm like, I don't know that this was the smartest move I could have made. Plus it was raining. And it was like 32 degrees. So you're talking about freezing rain. And I'm on the highway coming through the Carolinas and it's pitch dark. And so, my kids, of course, have fallen back asleep. I'm the only person driving. And so I'm like, all right, wait, you can do this. And so I put my music on my Pandora station and I start driving. And it's so amazing because I'm driving and the whole time I'm like, I just can't wait until it hits daytime. I just am waiting for the sun to come out. Everything's going to be okay once the sun comes out. And that's my point number one, is that we are always waiting for something and we can't have no peace until that something comes. And what you realize is that every single time you wait for something, you're like, all right, as soon as I get this, everything's going to be good. Well, as soon as you get it, guess what? Something else comes along and you're like, oh, wait, now I need this. And so I was so focused on, I'm a little nervous driving in this freezing rain. I'm nervous driving in the dark. And, I just gotta get to the light. I just gotta get to the light. Once I get to the light, everything's gonna be fine. Well, it's funny that I thought that because, in about an hour or two into driving, the sun did actually come up. And guess what happened? It got foggy. So the sun was out, right? That was what I kept saying. Oh, I'll be fine. As soon as the sun comes out, everything's gonna be good. Well, guess what? I was in a worse predicament than I was when it was dark because now the sun is out, but it's foggy and it's raining and it's freezing rain. And so, I spent all that time focusing my energy on just waiting for the next thing. As soon as I get to this light, it's going to be great. And guess what? There was another storm that was coming. So I say that to say you got to have peace in what you're going through right now, because if you keep trying to seek the next thing, you're never going to get any satisfaction because there's always something, some barrier, some blockage that's going to come around. So you got to just get to that place where you have some peace regardless of your situation. And so then another thing is that while I was driving, I was so nervous because I'm like in Carolina and I'm like, I don't know where I am. It's unfamiliar territory. I didn't want to stop too many places because I didn't know where I was. I didn't feel comfortable. And so I'm driving. And so every time, I would get around a whole bunch of cars, I would get nervous, right? Because it was dark and I was afraid that, like, is there ice on the roads? What if I slide into a car? So every time that I would get around a whole bunch of cars, I would try to move away so that I could be by myself. But then when I would be by myself, I would be afraid because I can't really see where I'm going. Where am I going with this? Well, you got to also, in your season of going through something, you got to check who is around you. So, here's the thing, when I'm driving on that road and I'm by myself, all I see is darkness because that's all that is around me. But when those other cars came around me, even though I was afraid of running into them or hitting them or hurting them in some way, it was the light from the other cars that was helping me on my drive. And so I actually needed that comfort of people around, those extra cars around, that extra light around to be able to move me forward. And so what my question to you today is, does the people around you bring light or darkness? Because if they're bringing darkness and you still in the dark and they're around and you're still in the dark, there's a problem. But when you bring the right people around, they're going to impart a little bit of light so that you can see a little bit clearer. And even though it might be thick because there might be a lot of things around you and you might be afraid because you're afraid that the weather is going to affect you, you're afraid that the storms in your life is going to affect you, and you may run into something or may hit something. When you're focused on the light and when you trust God and you have a peace that surpasses all understanding, you win, period. And you will get exactly where you need to go. And so you got to get to that place where you know who is around you. Don't ever, don't think that it's okay to just have anybody around you. I used to be that person. I was an equal opportunity person. I just wanted to have friends. I just wanted to have people around me. So it didn't matter who it was. If you were nice to me, we were good. But now, I got a little older and a little wiser, and I realized that, like, no, I need the right people in my space. I need people in my space that have some light. I need people in my space that's going to help me come out of darkness in my, life, and also that I can help them. I need some people that there's a even exchange. There's some give and some take. It can't just be that they're coming to take all of the light from you, because then when you don't have any light, you are now dark, and then what's going to happen to you? So you really got to be mindful of, the light that you have around you. And you have to be mindful of, just how focused you are on your journey. You spend so much time focused on the task at hand or the problem or the lack instead of the light. And so, like I said, driving, I'm focused on all of these things. Oh my gosh, it's so dark out here and it's freezing rain. And what if this happens? And what if that happens? Instead of focus on the fact that my God has already gone before me. He's already traveled these roads before me. And he told me in his word that he's a defender and a protector of the widow and the fatherless. He told me in his word that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So therefore, since he's already told me that everything is going to be okay, everything is going to be okay. So I don't have to be so focused on the fact that it's dark. I just got to focus on a light. Even if the only light that I had was the light in my car, that's enough light. And so you also got to get to a place that you're not hyper focused on who's around you. You got to learn to have some light for yourself as well. I remember just going through, different bouts of depression, and you get isolated, right? You isolate yourself because you're depressed, and so you don't want nobody to see you like that, or you tell yourself that you're not worthy of this, but you put yourself in this isolation, right? And so on one end, isolation is really dangerous. It is not a good place when you're not in a good place, where you don't have the tools and the skills to be able to call out to God in your time, to be able to seek help when you need help. It's a really dangerous place. But isolation is not always bad. It's the heart and the intent of how it came about. There are times that you need to be by yourself with God. There are times that you do need, that time by yourself, and you have to learn how to be by yourself and enjoy being by yourself. And, I remember being in that car, and there was a time I would have never taken a road trip without another adult with me, because I need somebody to talk to. I need someone to encourage me. I need someone to share the road with. I need someone. And now, that I've tried it a few times, I love it. And I've learned to enjoy my own company. It doesn't mean that I don't love the company of other people. It means that I don't need the company of other people for me to feel valuable. So now I will go off by myself in a minute. I left my house on Sunday night. I went to see Creed 2 by myself, had a blast. I'm finally to that place where I don't view being alone as rejection. And I don't view being alone as, well, I must not be worthy of anything because someone doesn't want to spend time with me. I enjoy my alone time when I'm making healthy choices and doing the right things. So you really have to get to that place that you can enjoy a little bit of isolation. You can enjoy that alone time with God, where God may put you in a season that, not that you're alone all the time, but that maybe he has periods of time where he wants you by yourself. He wants you to have time to call out to him. Maybe those other things and other people and other places are keeping you from him. And so you got to get to the place where you can be okay with being alone sometimes, because it's okay to be alone. As a widow, the loneliness is just, I don't really have words to describe it. Losing a spouse in part is like losing a part of yourself. And so you're trying to figure out a lot of things. And for me to have lost a spouse so early in life, I was still trying to figure out who I was before he died. And then I really was trying to figure out who I was after he died. And, 6.5 years later, I'm still figuring it out of who Whitney in isolation is. Not Whitney the mom, not Whitney the teacher, not Whitney in all the other roles that I am. It's still a journey. But one of the things that I had to learn is that sometimes when you are constantly needing to be around other people, you put expectations on people that they are never meant to have. And so God will then give you a season of isolation so that He can redirect you and refocus you and reposition you so that you can understand that He is the author of all things and that He is the head of all things. And so it's really important that you get that in your system, that it's not always going to be a whole lot of people around. And, I've always said, quality versus quantity. So it doesn't matter. You can have a whole room full of people, but are they worth anything? Are they only the people that are there because everything is good? Or are they only the people that are there when things are bad because they just like seeing you in that broken space? So you got to really take time to take inventory of who's in your life, especially during this time of year, because this time of year can be very tricky for people. It can be a very joyful time for people. It can be a very sad and depressing time for people. Nonetheless, you need to check who's in your circle, but you also got to get that alone time before God. And you have to be unapologetic about needing that space. And that's not just a message for single people. That's a message for everybody. We all need alone time. I needed alone time when I was married. I needed alone time now that I'm not. We all need that time to get in front of God by ourselves and to learn to enjoy yourself and to not always try to rush the process and skip the process. Well, I just need a boo. As soon as I get a boo, everything's going to be okay. Well, if you're not okay with you by yourself, all of those struggles that you have by yourself are only going to come into your relationship. And guess what? They will become magnified. So take the time to be by yourself. And if you are by yourself during this holiday season, meaning maybe you don't have family near you, or maybe you've experienced some loss, or maybe you are single or not in a relationship, don't look at the season as, well, I just got to get through it. Embrace the season. Do something new. Go see something different. There's so many things that pop up during this time of the year. Go out, venture out. Don't just sit and dwell in that dark place. Take some active steps. This time of year is rough. It's dark all the time, it feels like. I feel like there's no sunlight at all, and so it's hard. It can be hard mentally, it can be hard emotionally, and it can be hard in all kinds of ways. So it's okay. So take the time to get to know you and do something different. Don't just unpack and die during the holiday season. Like, soon as, Halloween is over, you just done. Like, all right, well, I'm going to just be depressed until January. And then I'm going to claim that next year is going to be this great year, but I'm not going to make any changes to do anything different to make next year a better year. And so then I'm in this cycle year after year after year. Dare to be different. Dare to be better. Challenge yourself to grow this season, to be the light for somebody else, to have light around you, but most importantly, to focus on the light that is Jesus Christ. When we come back from the break, we are going to have a for real conversation. We are talking about mental health, and I am super passionate about it because I am thankful for the mental health services and professionals that have helped me on my own journey and on those that are around me. But we have an amazing woman of God that is coming on the show, and we are going to talk about the stigma of mental health as it relates to the church. We are going to bust some things down, break some things down. We are done, walking around saying crazy things and not getting the help that we need off of things that aren't even biblical. So we are going to have a candid conversation about mental health as it relates to the church and just getting the help and the freedom that you need and what God has to say about that. We are going to hear, when we come back from the break, from the amazing Brittany Southern. I cannot wait just to have her on. Stick tight. Stay tuned. Really quick. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Be right back.
Have you ever wanted a place where you are able to share and not feel judged? I want to invite you out to experience the power of God. I am Angie Eugene, the founder of Women Rise with Angie. For more information, please visit womenrisewithangie.org or email us at angie@womenrisewithangie.org or give us a call at 240-678-4275. We look forward to you experiencing Rise.
LCPC, licensed clinical professional counselor. All right. If I say something wrong, just slide me.
Right on air.
Hey, 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 you are listening to the She Heals Radio Show. I am your host, Whitney J. Welcome back. Welcome back. So in the studio today, we have an amazing woman of God. I have had the pleasure of knowing her for 10 years now. I don't know why that sounds like I'm so old, but it just made me feel old right now. But, aside from being an LCPC, a licensed clinical professional counselor, I got it right? She is an amazing woman of God. She is just someone that, when you're blessed to have people around you that love God but are real, and so not afraid to be super honest about what this walk with God is like, and people that go through so many things with grace and just but still trusting God and still transparent. And it's just amazing when you get to see somebody and God's hand is on them. And it's been an honor to know you, and I am so glad that you are on the show. So without further ado, please welcome to the She Heals Radio Show, Brittany Southern. Hey, Britt. Hey, I'm like super hyped right now, so I need to like calm down. But how are you?
I'm doing great. I want to thank you for having me on
tonight. I am so excited. I'm just so excited. One of the things, and I think about our friendship and just over the years, is just such real dialogue about what trusting God looks like and what mental health looks like. And I know right now, I feel like mental health is like a catchphrase, right? Everybody's always talking about like mental health, but like, do we really know what it is? And so one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and I actually just thought about this, is I think sometimes, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and sometimes terms can be thrown out. So, in the teacher world, I feel like bully, like every situation is not a bullying situation, but it's thrown out a lot, right? I sometimes think that like depression and anxiety, like there is times where we have some anxiety, but do we have an anxiety disorder? Can you kind of explain a little bit what is actually depression and what is anxiety? Because sometimes I think people think, well, I feel sad, therefore I'm depressed. Does that make sense?
So the easiest way to explain it is the difference is everybody experiences sadness. Everybody is going to experience an anxious or a nervousness, right?
Right.
Because those are normal experiences. We like to just talk about happiness and joy and all that type of stuff, but that's not real life. Real life is we have an array of emotions, and I believe God placed that in us for a reason. So we're going to experience even the negative side of things.
Right.
Where you start entering into, is this a diagnosable disorder, is how is it impacting your functioning on a day-to-day basis and over a period of time. We're not talking about, oh, someone just died, so I'm really sad and I'm experiencing some depressed moods. That's a typical response.
Right.
But let's say this is a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months down the line, and I'm still struggling to get out of bed, or I'm still struggling to feel normal.
Yes.
You know how you just can become numb to things, or you're so nervous about things that it's hard for you to make decisions, and this is an ongoing thing. That's when we start looking at, okay, maybe you have a diagnosable disorder at this point.
Right.
But that's so important to identify, is that being sad does not mean I'm depressed.
Right.
It's a normal experience.
Right.
It's a normal human experience. And so, yes, I do feel like in the media right now, mental health is being thrown out for everything. We're just making blanket statements.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, what does that really mean? But I think also on the flip side of that is, then you have people. I know for me personally, there was a season where I was in denial that I was in depressed because I could get out the bed. And I think I've talked about this before, that like people think that depression is always you lay in the bed, you're eating ice cream, you can't, and like depression looks different for other people. So for me personally, I've always been able to get up and go to work but then I come home and I literally fall into a black hole, it feels like. So I think the other end of that is some people think, oh, I'm just sad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about, and you kind of touched on it, but just the other side of that, of like, when do you need to think, okay, maybe this is something a little different than just, oh, I'm just having a rough day.
Right. And that's that persistent sadness. Because yes. And I will say this, that I feel like especially for women, we are able to push through a lot.
Yes.
So maybe we're not stuck in the bed and having those severe cases of depression where it's like, I'm not showering, I'm not doing things like that. But
Right.
I do just enough to get through the day. I do just enough to meet the responsibilities that I need to adult in life. And then I get home and I'm like, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not hanging out with my friends. I'm not socializing. I'm not engaging in the things that bring me joy, that bring me excitement. That's when I would say you need to really start reassessing, have I gone past sadness and now it's impacting my functioning? Because that's a big thing. Like you're saying, if you're coming home from work and you're not doing the things that you love, like reading a book, watching a show that you love, but you're just existing,
that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And I think, like I said, I think it's taboo on both sides. Like some people are quick to, they want that name for something and they want that diagnosis. And then the other side is like, you may really have something going on and your healing is being delayed because you're not willing to.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to hear those things too. It's hard to hear, just from someone that's been on the other side of it. It's hard to hear, well, this is what's going on.
Right.
You're like, really? Like, I thought it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Right.
But it is. But I want to switch gears and just talk about how this relates to the body of Christ. And so I'm so excited. I'm like giddy because I just can think of conversations we've had. And I have heard people say these things in church. I have said and believed these things at one point in time, that if I'm feeling depressed, if I feel like I need to go to therapy, there must be some deficiency in my faith. Like I'm not doing something right, because if I truly loved God, if I prayed enough, if I was reading my word enough or whatever, I wouldn't be going through this. And I think that there are so many people that think that. So I just need you to break that hot mess down.
I mean, so first let's start with, one thing that I wanted to point out was a statistic that I pulled up that honestly, it can go back and forth. It can go many ways depending on who you talk to. But this statistic specifically says from the National Alliance of Mental Health, NAMI or NAMI, like some people call it, that approximately 1 in 5 adults in the U.S., that would be 43.8 million, or 18.5%, experience mental illness in a given year.
Wow, 1 in 5 people.
Yes, 1 in 5. And I've heard some statistics that actually say 1 in 4.
Wow.
So that just tells you the prevalence of this, right?
Right.
So to say things like, if you're experiencing that, then you just lack faith, how does that even work out?
It
you know what I mean? Like, mathematically, how does that work out?
Yeah.
This is an experience that a lot of people have, unfortunately. And then when we pull in the faith aspect to it, this is where I struggle, and you and I have talked about this a lot. The Bible says faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Okay. So faith is so much more than just hoping for something.
Yes.
You have to put your things into
it's
action.
Some work. Yes.
Some work has to happen, right? So when it comes to dealing with mental illness, just like physical health, you go seek out information from professionals. When your kids are sick, do you usually just Google their symptoms and determine from there what you need to do?
No, we're gonna go to the doctor.
Right,
on my call.
Because when you've done that, what have you seen?
Oh gosh, they are gonna lose a limb. They have leprosy. I don't know.
Right, exactly, right?
Something crazy. Yeah.
So in our society, in church, if somebody came in and was sick with a broken arm or broken leg, talking about they have cancer, we would say, you need to go see a doctor. You need to go see a specialist.
Yeah.
It's the same with mental health. Just because it's a hurt that you can't physically see all the time,
right.
which I argue that too, to say you can't physically see it, because you can.
You can,
know the signs, right?
Yeah.
You can if you know the signs. But just because it's not something that's so apparent and so concrete, that doesn't mean that you don't go out and seek professional help. People
Absolutely.
that are trained in dealing with this, people that have gone through study after study after study of evidence-based practices that have been proven to help people get out of their funk, out of their sadness,
right.
out of these situations that chemically within their body, because that's another part of this. This may be the way that your body is made up.
Right.
And the way that your brain actually functions because of the hormones and chemical imbalances, things that are going on. But that's a whole other radio show. But there's so much more to it than you just got to will your way out of it.
Yeah. Or press your way through.
Right.
You know, I used to be the queen of saying that. Like, I'm just pressing. I'm going to press my way through this. And God's like, yeah, I'm going to need you to press your way to the therapist's office. And I think, too, that I think some of us really do feel like we're a failure to God when we do that and not understanding. I've always said that all healing comes from God, however he chooses to manifest it. So my faith is not in my therapist. My faith is in my God to work through my therapist, then for me to take with the wisdom that she's imparting to me to use. So it's like a whole process. It's not that I'm leaning on her because she's just a woman, but she's a woman that God has given this unique gift to, you know, the gift of aiding in people's healing. And so I think that we as a body of Christ have to start having more conversations about this and start having an open place where people can openly say, this is what my struggle is. You know, just talk to me about, well, first talk to me about a little bit about what you do professionally, and then your own testimony and how God has helped you, however you see it fit, you know, just of how God has helped you in this area and even how he may have led you to serving others.
Right. So currently right now what I do is I am a clinical milieu manager at a residential treatment facility within their school. So what a clinical milieu manager does is I manage the clinical needs of kids within the school building. So that goes as far as consulting with teachers about how to deal with problem behaviors, making sure that we understand the clinical concerns of the kids, whatever traumas that they're bringing in, whatever behavior problems that they're bringing in, that we're not just dealing with stop doing that, but we're trying to replace it with positive behaviors and teach them skills, right? And then I came into this as a therapist first. Right. And I've worked with kids in schools. I've worked in an outpatient clinic where I've worked with adults. I've worked with trauma victims. I've worked with domestic violence victims. I've worked with just the run-of-the-mill person that's going through life changes that just needs somebody to help them process things, right? So that's how I've gotten into this professionally. Personally, you know, my bachelor's degree was in vocal music.
She can sing too. Don't trip. She can sing.
Never did I think I was coming into this field. This was not on my plan. This was not in my trajectory. And I always feel like God was like, that's cute. Mm-hmm.
He loves when we tell him what we gonna do, don't he?
And so my initial stab at grad school didn't work out. I was going to get a master's in music education. I was going to get a doctorate in music theory, and I was going to teach on the collegiate level. That was the plan. And it didn't work out because of scheduling issues, financial issues. It just didn't work out. So I went into the workforce like everybody else after college, just working run-of-the-mill jobs. It was when I moved to Indiana, as you know about that, to help with the church plant, that I started thinking about, what do I really want to do? And a lot of people kept suggesting mental health. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I sing. That's what I do. But I realized through just discovering who I was as a person and continue to discover who I am as a person that I love helping people. Yeah. And that seemed to be the good fit for me and what I wanted to do with helping people. So that's what led me into this. It's not just, I felt like I'd be good as a therapist. I feel called to this work. Yeah. Because there's so much stigma behind people that experience these things, right? Yeah. We try to downplay people's experiences or invalidate them. If you don't have enough faith. Oh, yeah. You're fine. You're being dramatic. You're not working hard enough. Yeah. You just need to pray your way through this. Yeah. Prime example for myself personally. As you know, I have lost multiple children. Yes. I've had 2 miscarriages and 1 pregnancy that I had to terminate because of a birth defect that would have been fatal. And I remember going through each of those experiences and people telling me, you're going to be fine now. Because you're young and you just pray about it and you just come to church and everything's going to be fine. Yeah, that's... And, no.
That's not how this works.
It wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. But because I had a mother that for herself went to therapy when she needed to, and that was a very normal thing in our household to talk about that, I knew that there was a better option for me. And so I would seek out wise counsel. And at times there were times that I wasn't in therapy, but I was finding people that knew better than me to give me some form of counsel. Right. And I know without a shadow of doubt that if ever I get to a point where life gets hard like that again, I know I'm going to go see a therapist because I've seen the work both in faith-based situations and secular situations that this works for people
Yes.
Going and seeking someone to help you process and establish tools to get
Yeah.
through the harder things in life, it helps. My own experience in therapy actually started when I was in college. After sharing a traumatic experience that I had had in high school with my mother. And I told her I was having panic attacks and everything like that. And the first thing she said, well, I'm setting you up a therapy appointment. And you're going to go talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience of, there was no judgment with this woman. She was a Christian counselor. She didn't tell me that I lacked faith. She was like, oh no, what you went through was some crap.
Yeah.
And
And we need to work through this.
we need to work
Yeah.
through this. And she gave me tools to work through it. She helped me see things that I was struggling to see myself. And it wasn't that she told me the answers, but she helped me find them, even within myself.
Yes. And isn't that what God does for us, though? Doesn't he lead us and he guides us? He doesn't just do all the work for us. You know, I think about, I was just, as you were talking, I was thinking about, the woman with the issue of blood. And, we get so focused on the fact that all she had to do was touch the hem of his garment and she was immediately healed. But no, what she had to do was endure that for 30 some years. And then she had to crawl and get through all those people to get to him. Like, it was some work involved. And I think sometimes we want the miracle, but we don't want the work.
Hello.
And you don't get one without the other. Like, there is time that God is going to swoop in, but after, there's never been a story in the Bible where God has just swooped in where there hasn't been any work done before. And so you have to, get to that place where you're willing to work at it. And, I was listening to you, and one of the things too, and I would love your professional opinion about this, is I remember when I first started going to therapy, I felt like I only could go to a Christian therapy place. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I'm going to a Christian counselor. They have to be Christian. I have to know that they're Christian, and I won't go any other place. And the therapist that I have now that I've been seeing for a year, I found she's through my doctor. She is a part of the practice. She is her company is like partnered with my doctor's office. Yeah. And so at first, when the doctor said like, well, I'm a little concerned, and I think, you may need to go in this direction. I'm like, oh, well, I'll go find a Christian counselor. And they're like, well, we have this therapist here. And they just told me her name. And I was like, I need someone that's only about God. But I took a chance. And I went to her, and I have had more encounters with God in her office and through what she has said. And so I'm saying that to say to people, don't get caught up in the titles and the names. Yes. Go where God calls you, whether it be a therapist or a psychiatrist. There are so many different mental health professionals, right?
Yes.
And so I want to ask you, one, your feelings on that, and two, what are some of the different services that are out there? Because I only know from my limited experience.
Right.
What are some places people could go?
So when we're talking about therapists, that's a broad statement.
It is.
A counselor can be a broad statement because you have art therapists, you have music therapists, you have physical therapists, you have occupational therapists.
Yeah, it's a blanket.
Therapists.
Yeah.
Right. So my big thing is find someone who is trained in what you're seeking. So if you're seeking mental health services, you need to find someone that's trained in mental health services. If you're seeking someone that is going to provide medication for your mental health issues, you need to look for a psychiatrist.
Right.
The difference between your primary care physician and a psychiatrist is your primary care physician went to school to be your primary care physician, to do all of that stuff holistic within your body, right?
Right.
All of those things dealing with blood pressure and all your regular day-to-day ordinary physical health.
Right.
They are not specializing in mental health issues and the medication management of that. That's a psychiatrist that does that.
Right.
So even I've had parents that have come into me working with kids and they're like, can you prescribe them med? I'm like, I can't prescribe them nothing because I am not a doctor.
Right.
And I'm also not a psychiatrist.
Right.
But that's like understanding those different titles is necessary, because what has happened is a lot of physicians have had to carry the burden. A lot of primary care physicians have had to carry the burden of managing those types of medications. What we're trying to move towards in healthcare in general is more of that collaborative work. So like you're saying, your doctor's office partnering with a therapist, that's why.
Right.
Because all of these things tie together so much more than we want to recognize sometimes.
Right.
But anyway, so find someone that you want to, what you're seeking services for. So if you're seeking a mental health therapist, you need to make sure that they are a mental health therapist.
Right.
And that licensing can look many different ways.
Right.
You can be a LCPC, you can be a LMFT, you can be a LCSWC. And all of it boils down to is we are clinical people.
I'm like all these letters.
Right. So it's so many different ways. So when we come to secular versus faith-based, I am a Christian woman that practices therapy in secular settings.
Yeah.
God is always in the room with me.
Yes.
No matter if my client is Buddhist, Muslim,
Yes.
atheist,
Yes.
agnostic, because I don't view my faith having to be their faith in order for me to do what I know God has called me to do.
Yes.
He
Yes.
speaks to me and through me to help people whether they believe in him or not.
Yes.
And I feel it goes the same way vice versa. If your therapist is not Christian, that doesn't mean that they can't be a good therapist, because to say that is to limit God.
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
I have worked with some amazing clinicians that aren't Christians, but I can tell you the work that they do is God's work.
Yes.
Because they are available and doing something with such passion and compassion that God can speak through them whether they know it or not, whether they agree with it or not, whether they believe it or not. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times I just know in my own personal walk, you know, if that Christian label isn't on it, I don't want it. And I've learned and I'm growing to know that God is in all things.
Yes.
And like I said, this woman, you know, and I don't know if she's a Christian or not. I mean, to be honest, but I know that God is using her in my life. And, you know, we talked about, you know, that we're trusting God. Now, we're not putting our faith and our trust and everything in that person. We're putting it in God to use whomever he sees fit to get our healing. One of the things I wanted to ask you was about medication and just being super transparent. You know, I was cool with therapy. Medication was a different situation. And I'm just going to be honest. I mean, you know, and I remember when, you know, I was just a few months ago when I got sick and I was in a really low place. And when my therapist said, you know, I think we need to have a discussion about giving you some additional relief. And she probably could immediately see my body language change. And I was like, I'm cool with therapy, but medicine, I don't know. And I think that there are so many people, and just to share that I prayed about it. I fasted, you know, and God was like, I'm going to heal you. You know that your healing is sealed. You know, it's already done. Trust the process. And there's no shame. The word says there's no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. And so I started taking the medication. And, you know, at first I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm taking medication for anxiety. And it was like this big deal. But after a while, when I started sleeping better and when I started being able to process things a little bit better and just the edge was off and I could think a little clearer, you know, that stigma of being on medication no longer mattered, you know, and it was just like, but I feel better and I can feel God better. I can hear him more. And so what do you say to those Christians that maybe therapy is not their boundary? Maybe they're good, but maybe in their situation, it requires some extra care.
Right.
What do you say to those people that might struggle?
So when you go to the doctor and you get blood work done and they say you are anemic and you need more iron, what are you going to do?
You're going to take an iron supplement.
You're going to take an iron supplement. You're going to go get you a couple extra steaks in a week.
Yeah. You're going to do something.
You're going to do something. You're going to ingest something in your body. You're going to change some of your habits in order to make up for that deficit, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you are in therapy and you're working so hard on everything, they're giving you all these coping skills and it's still not working, that's a deficit.
Right.
And so you're not even available yet to be able to fully capitalize on all this work that you're doing in talk therapy.
Yeah.
Right? So what should you do? Go get a supplement to deal with that deficit, just like you did with your anemia. Go get some medication that helps you. And a lot of people don't have to do these medications long term.
That was what I was just about to say. I'm so glad you said that. Some people think, well, this is it. And it's not.
No.
It's not.
I mean, there are some people with severe mental health issues that they will be on medication for the rest of their life to help them to be functional. But that's not the majority of the people that end up on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. It's to help get you to a baseline where you are available, where you are present enough to do exactly what you said. Oh, I can process through this. I can do
I can use the skills I'm being taught, you know.
I can do what my therapist has told me to do. And when it comes to the church and all of this, that stigma that's behind this is what's getting in the way from people to be able to process it through this way, right?
Yes.
Because when we say these things, it's very logical to think of it that way. Oh, if I'm anemic, I'm going to go to the doctor and get medication. When you are in a setting where you're being told all the time you're weak for doing that, you don't have faith for doing that, we actually get in the way of people getting the healing that God is trying to provide, correct?
Absolutely.
The disciples were of many different professions.
Yes.
Right? The 12 apostles were one of them was a physician.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's by happenstance that Jesus would pick people of different professions show I'm using different people to get this job done. He didn't just say, oh, I just need people. He said, oh, I need you for this, you for this, and you for this, because it serves the greater purpose. These are the gifts that you have to fulfill this purpose. So it's the same thing when it comes to mental health. It's the same thing of going to a therapist, of getting medication management. Maybe you need to do more holistic things where you do yoga and you have to work out and all these different things that we wouldn't tell someone, oh, you need to lose weight and you're going to the gym. That's not of faith. That's not of God.
You're just going to do it.
You just got to pray about it. No, we'd be like, yeah, you better go to that gym. You better get your Planet Fitness membership and go work out. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's working.
Stuff like this. If you need medication to help you function, why wouldn't we do that?
Right. And again, I think sometimes we make so many things so permanent and we don't just trust God that your walk is unique. Everyone's walk is unique. I don't have an end time for this situation that I'm in right now. Right. Who's to say that in a few months, maybe things are better and I no longer need that supplement. But if in a few months I do, then so be it. And even if there's a season that I don't need it and then a season comes back again, I think we just have to trust God and trust the process, but be unapologetic of where we are and just get the healing. I always say, like, if you are diabetic, you're getting insulin, you're taking insulin to, better your quality of life. Right. And so we would never withhold insulin. So to me, for the hurting, God is he's that insulin for us, but it comes in all different forms. And so it could just be exercise. It could, for some people, that is a big, that is a big thing. It's just exercising. But there are other things that other people need. And honestly, mine is like a hybrid of a whole bunch of different things, And so, sometimes all I need to do is go for a walk and exercise and things are better. Other times I need to use some skill. It depends. But the heart of it is that we have to stop, judging people. And one other thing I wanted to share before I ask you the next question is that I think sometimes we hold people back by not sharing our own story.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So, we get healed and we get delivered from something and we like, all right, I'm good and I look good now and I look good and delivered now. And so we're not going to ever go back to that place. Mm-hmm. And, for me, I always look at people when I say like, yes, I was hospitalized. I attempted suicide and I was hospitalized in a psychiatric facility for 3 days. And people look at me like, oh my gosh. And like, I remember someone telling me like, why you put that in your book? Like, you don't got to tell everybody everything. And I'm like, but somebody can get free from that. I'm not ashamed to say that I needed some help and I got some help. I'm not ashamed to say that that's where I was. It just is what it is. And, I'm not there anymore. But what can we do in the body? How can we break that stigma of it's okay to say, hey, I struggled in this area? How can we break that down?
Do exactly what you just said. Because look, if we say that it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 people, that's in your church.
Yeah, it's 4 people in this room or 3 people in this room right now. So I mean, that means I know one is covered.
So it's one of those things that we have to do it within the body. We have to break the stigma down by talking about this stuff. Because really, the same people that are telling you, oh, you can pray your way through it, are going through something themselves. Yeah. That somebody's told them that crazy lie as well.
Right.
And they continue to feed it, and they're struggling. And all these different things, right? So we have to break the stigma within ourselves by having conversations like this. I believe so many things change when you just have a conversation.
Yes.
Being at churches, I've been to a few where I see the drive to break that stigma.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That they have services in the church.
Yes.
Partnering with agencies to either come in or, sending referrals out. I've seen pastors that are educating themselves.
Yes, I was just talking about that with my pastor. Yes.
That are taking courses and trying to understand what is all that
Sure,
type of
sure.
stuff. But really, it starts with conversation.
Yeah.
It starts with talking about it. It starts with people sharing their stories. I know even as a therapist, people will think that I have my whole life together and everything is good and I'm just fine. Okay. Let me tell you that in 2017, in May of 2017, my family took a huge blow.
Yeah.
That my younger sibling's mother, who we all knew, I knew her since I was 5 years old, suddenly died. Just out of nowhere, suddenly died.
Yeah.
Such a huge blow. And by this point, I was in the mental health field, doing well. And then I'm struggling with processing her death. I'm struggling with persistent sad moods.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
I was struggling with a depressive episode.
Yeah.
Right? My husband had to point it out to me. He was like, you're not quite yourself. Like, you're functioning. You're going to work.
Yeah.
You're doing all this stuff. But
But
you're not.
no, there's something
Here,
there.
right? I had to seek out my support system of, I need you guys to help me to get through this. So in talking about it is what helps me get through it. And also helps normalize it for other people, because to see someone like me, who I'm a professional, I'm trained to do this, I've gone through all the schooling, I've jumped through all the hoops to get this fancy license, and I am still susceptible to dealing with these same struggles, helps people also have hope of, oh, so it's not just me.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that
You're not the
experiences
only
this.
one. You're not the only one. And it's that's just so powerful. I'm just in awe of that we have to really start opening our mouths. And so my prayer is that, we get to a place that we can start sharing our own stories and just being honest with ourselves about where we are, but also honest with those around us. And, sometimes, and this might not sound too godly, but I don't know another way to say it, is you got to check people, because people will speak things over you. And, sometimes you have to say, no, I'm not being dramatic. No, I don't need to just get over it. This is a really big situation I'm in, and I'm going through something. You have to say those things, and you have to, I remember talking to people, and people would see my outside. Oh, you're not depressed because you did this, and you finished school, and you did this, this, and this. And it's like, no, but you don't understand. I'm telling you how I feel, and you can't tell me how I feel about what's going on with me. And so we have to get to that place where we kind of shut those things down. And, I'm just so full right now because I just feel like God has touched somebody. I don't know who it is, but I had this special just feeling in my gut just now that like somebody is really struggling with this and they just need to hear a word. And so, as we're closing out, I just want you to just take a moment and just share your heart and just pretend there's somebody, because there is somebody listening to this feed. We may never know who it was, but that is really going through something and they're struggling. What would you say?
It is okay to be weak.
Yes.
So often we focus on, in this society, especially for women, especially for Black women.
Yes, we the main ones.
Being strong through things.
Yeah.
Just pressing, like you said, pressing through things. Well, sis, brother, auntie, cousin, mama, daddy, grandmama, grandpapa, why are you pressing into that wall?
Yeah.
Why aren't you finding tools to cut a door through that wall?
Yes.
So you can walk through it.
Yes.
It's okay to be weak. It's okay not to know how to do something. Maybe the tools are sitting right next to you and you're like, but I
don't know what to do.
I don't work with drywall. That's not my expertise. So you go to somebody
Yeah.
and say, how do I learn how to deal with this?
Yeah.
It's okay to be weak. It's okay not to know how to do something. And it is okay to seek help for that.
Yes.
It is okay to say, I need help. That
Yeah.
doesn't show that you're stupid, that you're unworthy.
Yes.
You shouldn't be embarrassed. We start out in life learning from other people.
Yes.
That's how we're formed.
Yes.
Right? We learn as infants. We go to school for however many years to
Yeah.
learn different things. We need other people, right?
Yeah.
So there's no problem in going to seek out help.
Yes.
Where there is a problem is suffering by yourself,
Yes.
of holding on to these things that are only hindering you.
Yes.
Because yes, other people will say, do it for me, go. One thing that I've always hated that I've heard people say when someone is suicidal, oh, don't do that, just think about us. Okay, yes, we want them to have hope and to have a support system, but do it for you.
Yeah.
Because you deserve to be whole. You deserve to be healed. And you deserve the best in your life. You deserve to live your best life, boo.
Yes.
Go live your best life. And the way to do that, get help.
Yes.
Ask for help. And it's okay to be weak. Because in weakness, you find your strength.
Amen. 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 That was a word for me. Amen. I'm just in awe, and I'm just so thankful that you came. You're going to have to come back because there's like 50 other things we need to talk about. But I just hope that for those that are listening, that you just heard that word, that it is okay to be weak. It is okay to be weak. I can't stress that enough. And I'm just so glad that that you came to join us and to just share. And just thank you for your transparency and thank you for your realness, because it's not easy. You know, and people sometimes think like, oh, you just tell about everything. I'm like, yeah, I had to live it first. And it really sucked. So, you know, I just thank you for that, because it is a sacrifice. But I just want to say to my viewers, you know, I'm just so thankful for you guys. And I just hope that if nothing else, the stigma has been broken a little bit more today, that you'll be dared to take one step in the right direction of getting your healing today. You know, we're going to keep up with this theme of mental health over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about a few things. Next week, we have an amazing woman that is coming, and we're going to talk about our kids. I can't wait for this one. We are going to talk about our kids, and, you know, everything is not just you just have to deal with this and get through life. There are some things that are going on with our kids that is trauma, and we need to know how we as believers can support our kids, and that is I'm very passionate. We'll get into that next week, but just dare to take the first step this week. If you are really struggling with something, maybe you're not sure what's wrong. You know, maybe you just don't feel yourself and you don't know what to do. I dare you to reach out and ask for help. I dare you to just challenge yourself to take one step in the right direction. I promise you that healing will be your answer when you take the step and do the work. In closing, she thinks, she feels, she cries. She suffers in silence. She mourns. She prays. She asks for help. She does the work. She overcomes, and ultimately she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll see you next Friday. Take care. God bless. All right. You did amazing.
We are 24/7 Awesome God Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to get your praise on. It's time for the Blessed in the City Drive Home Mix with your favorite mixologists, DJ Soul, DJ Craig, DJ Lamont, and DJ L Styles on Awesome God Radio.